You good?
Hey guys, it's Theo here at Real Experience Ball and Bowling Ball Reviews, and today we're doing a pretty cool little conversation with House Hack Bowling. How you doing today, man?
Man, living the dream. How about you?
Doing good. We're going to talk about what are some really good bowling balls to have on sport patterns, or just in general, just have a little conversation with Austin here about sport patterns, bowling balls, what's good, what's some layouts that you might typically want to have in your bag, types of cores, types of covers, right? And all that good stuff. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Austin here at House Hack. You'll see below here he has his channels. Go give him a follow on YouTube, House Hack Bowling, and also House Hack Bowling on TikTok. And he's also on Instagram. This guy is awesome, posts great videos, lots of good ones, lots of funny videos, but also a lot of good content. So just in general for the bowling community. So I appreciate you, brother.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for the nice words.
No problem. So yeah, so sport patterns, right? So Austin was nice enough to have another video where we talk about house shots, right? We talked a little bit about just some shapes and stuff we wanted. In house shots, right? We see a lot of high friction house patterns, super wide open, right? You got guys like me who are two-handed, Austin, he's one-handed, right? We're all just trying to figure out like, what do we want in the bag for the sport patterns? Because when they get that ratio starts closing down, like let's say you're bowling on, this is just throwing an example, right? I got the USBC Masters coming up. Usually it's 30 to 32 milliliters. That's pretty heavy oil, and it's flat, man. It's like 1 to 1, or something crazy like that. Just maybe not 1 to 1, but I don't know, like just something ridiculous, right? But how do
Urethane
you
fast,
know?
yes.
Yeah. So like bowling on that, the US Open, or even just in general, like the cheetah pattern, something shorter, something a little bit longer, like the dragon, right? PBA dragon, 45 feet. What do you bring out of the bag, right? So in general, I'm going to show really quickly, my tournament bag as of now, what I've been using as a two-hander, and kind of what's worked for me. So Austin, I'm going to pull that up. All right, so I kind of laid it out here in different sections, right? And of course, there's a couple other honorable mentions I'm going to talk about too, with what I have in the bag and why, just that aren't showing the picture here. But from the top, you can see urethane, right? Got to have Thane in the bag, Thane banging, man, especially being two-handed, having a lot of revs, right? Be able to control the left or right, and keep it in front of you. I honestly think Purple Hammer, goat ball, so good. I just have a 2.5-inch pin on that. I want that to pick up, read early, and just go forward, right? I just want that so I can play a little straighter, throw it hard, hit it, do what I need to do. Pitch black, a little bit taller pin. That one's really nice because it just goes in hook sets, right? That's what you want from the urethane, something really easy to predict. Just play a little bit straighter, keep angles in front of you. I don't like swinging urethane, right? You just gotta keep it in front of you, unless it calls for it. I mean, I've seen guys do it. I've seen people do crazy stuff with urethanes, absolutely crazy. The next row, and of course, I will mention my spare ball, Jopo grips. Yeah, you guys got to go check out Jopo. They're awesome. They got great products.
Yeah, they're cool.
Next row here, what's up?
I'm just saying, like, I don't personally use Jopo, but everything I've seen about it is super cool. I like what they're doing. So, yeah, I highly recommend people check them out at least. At least try it.
Sweet. Yeah, they're awesome. Jerry, the owner, does great things for everybody, puts a lot of work in. And I'm telling you, when I was one-handed, I didn't have one of those break ever, which is incredible.
Noted.
But yeah, moving on to this second level here, you kind of see I have this Rotogrip Exotic Gem. I have the Hammer Black Widow 2.0 Hybrid and the Track Paragon. I'm going to be replacing the Paragon with something fresh because that Paragon has lots of games on it now from bowling tournaments. But you kind of see, okay, Theo has kind of that hybrid, with the HK22 responsive to friction. The Widow's got that big gas mask core, right? That's going to be really good on the higher volume patterns, maybe I go in transition when I need something that's going to recover down the lane. I don't like to throw any shiny stuff on sport. I like to hit all my stuff with surface. Paragon, that one, I have the same layout that I actually have in my Obsession Tour, which is a 70 by 4.5 by 40 or 50 or something around there. But what that does is just goes really smooth and strong. I usually hit this at 1,000 every time I bowl a tournament. And then the Exotic Gem, right, which is more my pearl, bowling ball, big ASIM that just tumbly, right? That I'm going to need to just something for when there's a puddle and it's just crazy and you're like, God, I can't get anything to go through and just be smooth. I think that ball is going to be absolutely excellent. And then that one has a big sum on it. It's 50 by 4 by 70. So I just wanted it to be round, strong, and just smooth. Because you're bowling on flat stuff, you don't want that angular crap, man. You're just going to be over under city. You're going to be trying to fire it into certain spots and be struggling. And then I got my top speed from Columbia 300, which has been really, really good. 90 by 4 by 35. Taller pin, kicks the mass bias actually left, so it just goes and then goes forward. That one's been really good. The Envy Tour, brand new ball from Hammer. If you guys like the Obsession Tour, the Envy Tour is the same exact core as the Obsession, but it has the Envy Tour cover stock, which is going to be a little more dig than the Obsession, right? It has that Envy cover, which is going to be great. I got a taller pin, 50 by 4 by 20. That thing's like way up there. And then the Venom Coral, which is a great just ball for transition, really smooth. And then they got the Venom Shock down there, right? So that's kind of a 1-2 punch for me. I've actually bowled a tournament recently where I throw the Venom and I threw the Coral after because it was just such a great combination of ball motion. And then the Ocean Vibe, right? The Ocean Vibe, great burn ball. And I like going back to the Venom Shock. Shock's a little cleaner, symmetric ball, right? So you got some nice snap down the lane. Transition ball for me, unless I hit it with 1,000. I've used it that way too. Game Breaker 2, clutch ball, absolutely clutch. I bowled on 44 feet, super high volume pattern. I hit that thing with like 500, and I'm like, dang, that thing is still hooking on this. So that tells you, right? Like volume balls like the Game Breaker 2 can be really, really clutch. Just like I know a guy that has 3 of them, and he's drilled them 3 different ways. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that works, right? So, I mean, guys do that. Another ball that I like to mention that's not pictured is my Brunswick Melee Jab Carbon. So that one's a really good ball too. It's a little cleaner, a little bit more quicker off the spot for me. So if you notice, a lot of different shapes, but I've noticed anything that I bowl on that's like 30, anything that starts with a 3 and goes up to a like 39 to 40, I'm usually throwing Thane because it looks good. Yeah, I guess it looks good, right? And then if I go up a little bit, depending on the volume, the Paragon is coming pretty good. The Game Breaker 2 with a lot of surface, so it really depends on what you're bowling on too.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go by the same rule. Anything under 4, if it's got a 3 in front of it, you gotta go with urethane. You just gotta try it. And then honestly, it depends on who you're bowling with too, on how well that will work or how long you can stay into it. But honestly, that was a really nice bag, and I actually like the shelf a lot too. I know we weren't talking about that, but it's a nice shelf. But pamperedballs.com, guys. They actually, so I bought it online. I was looking up on Amazon or just in general bowling ball racks, and then I went on Google. I just typed it in instead, and I'm like, oh, pamperedbowlingballs.com, pampered balls. Okay, I actually have a review on my YouTube, guys, of the product for the bowling rack. It's pretty killer, dude. So yes. That's awesome. So do you normally go with 12, or is that just kind of like covering all your bases if you had to carry that many? You know what I mean?
So when I'm bowling a tournament, I mean, usually because out here in the Midwest, they have the MSBS, which is a Midwest Scratch Bowling Series. He puts out, Brian Regan, great guy. He puts out a lot of really tough patterns. Typically, I'll walk in. I recently gave away one of my 3-ball bags to one of the kids that I was coaching because I just wanted to help him out. So I got to get more bowling bags, but usually I come in with 8 to 9 bowling balls. Well, maybe 6 or 7, right? And then I'll go in the car if I need more. But I mean, that's what I do because you never know. You never know what you're going to need. And I'll be honest with you. I remember when I bowled back on, the regional tour back in the East Coast when I was one-handed. This was a long time ago. There's guys walking in with 20 bowling balls. Crazy, right? But they'd be like, what do I need to throw right during practice? They just stacks. I remember bowling next to Brand Angelo. A guy brings in just tons of bowling balls. I'm like, dang, man. Well, he's also with, a storm and everything. So it was wow, it was incredible, right? But you'll see too, when you go and bowl these tournaments, right? Watch what the other pros are doing, right? If you're bowling with a pro, watch what they're doing, watch what they're throwing, learn from it, right? But also, make sure you're just well equipped because if you go and bowl on a sport pattern when it's really flat and you don't hit your stuff with surface and you throw stuff that's really quick off the spot, you're going to have the worst experience of your life. You're going to walk out of that tournament you're like, what the heck was I doing? So.
Exactly. No, I had the same rule of thought. I just wanted to hear what you thought.
Yeah.
I'm trying to let people know that it's okay to have a bunch of bowling balls. Don't be afraid to be that guy.
Yep.
but sometimes it's kind of like a learning curve for some people to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
And Austin, so I mean, just throw it back at you. So you usually bring, was it like 6 balls or more? Do you have you want to show us what you got and what you're throwing right now for your tournament stuff?
Yeah, typically if I'm bowling on anything sport wise, 6 is the bare minimum. I don't take any lower. And depending on what it is, I know I bowled a regional back in September and I brought 9. And honestly, I wasn't well equipped. Hard to believe with 9 bowling balls. And I mean, you can say it's a skill issue, but honestly, there was just certain shapes that I noticed people were doing that I didn't have, and I wish I brought them. But and honestly, there are some balls that I need to mention that I didn't have with me here in this house. But these are the ones that I have here that I wanted to show. So I have 9 right here, and like you, short on bags. So I just threw them on there. If you watch the house shot series video, which should be out at the same time as this video, the 3D offset, the ice, and like I said, it's just a spare ball. It could be any spare ball you want, and the GB2 or the mainstays. And then with the Obsession Tour, the Fate, and the Raw. And I guess I can go ahead and do the layouts too, just in case if no one saw the first video. So on the 3D offset, it is 70 by 5 by 30. It's a little shiny in this picture, but I also like that ball shiny. It's a little too slow sometimes when it comes out of like how it is out of the box. And some people might use it for that case, but typically if I want a really slow ball, I would have like a Reality or like you said, like a Paragon. The big ASIM ball that I had, I actually gave to my wife, and she's throwing it now as a Reality. And I only gave it to her just because she really desperately needed a ball like that, and I wasn't really throwing it that much. So I'm kind of like in the market for something. I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe an MV Tour. I might get a gem. I don't know. I might just wait to see what comes out. That new track ball, what's it called? The Archetype.
That is. Good. I really want to get that because my Paragon, my Paragon, just lots of games on it, dude. So like stuff like that, that archetype looks good. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So anyway, spare ball don't really matter. GB2, 50 by 5 by 30. First angle don't matter, but everyone wants to know everything. So, and typically 50 by 5 by 30 is kind of like a base layout for me. And this Obsession Tour up here on the top left, I hit it with it was a 40 by 3 3/4 by 70. Made it really strong, but with the characteristics of the ball, it made it even smoother than it already is. And honestly, it's real playable on sport and house, so it's always kind of goes with me on both situations. And then with the Fate, with a 4.5, or maybe, I think it's 5. No, it's 5. 5 by 30. It's the base layout one. And then the Raw is also another 5 by 30. Or that one might be 5. No, it's 5 by 30. I remember now. It's 5 by 30. Just real controllable piece. And honestly, the Fate and the Raw kind of go really well together. Because typically, if I really need to get left, the Fate works really well. And depending on what I'm bowling on house-wise, the Raw will pick up depending on the surface I have. And I always have the Raw at a pretty chalky surface for the most part, just because even as a weaker ball, sometimes it does struggle to kind of pick up in the right spot, especially if there's a lot of oil. And I'm kind of on the side of I actually do like shiny stuff on sport, but not like turtle wax shiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like go on the spinner, hit it high at like 4K, and then it comes out shiny. Like,
yeah, even like you can even kind of shine a ball with like ball cleaner. You can kind of get like a good like texture shiny feel, and then if I need more, I can always add surface because I can always kind of tell in my first few shots of practice if I'm going to need shine or not. And the reason why I say that is because if you're bowling on something that's a little longer, like say 44, 45, 46,
you want to burn
some
up.
Of these, all these strong balls will burn up and have no energy by the time it gets there. So that's when a ball like the Zen for me comes into play. The Zen has been killer for me on anything above 42. Even at like its box surface. Now at box surface, it's still a little too shiny. But out of all the shiny balls I have thrown, that has worked really well. And that one is a 4.5 by 30. And I said in my house video that I really don't throw this ball that much, but I do throw it on anything hard because out of all the pearl balls I've ever had, it's very smooth and controllable for most pearls out there. And of course, if the pattern's short enough, double cross, it's actually my favorite urethane ball that I've thrown. And yes, I've had purple hammers. I understand everyone loves that ball. I do too, but honestly, like the double cross to me fits my eye a little better. And I haven't had a purple hammer since they started being made by Brunswick. Okay. So I might just want to try one out again, but all the ones I've had were EBI.
Yep.
I even had one of the illegal ones. And let me say, that ball was awesome. Yeah.
Soft.
I mean, it was one of those things when all that stuff started coming out, and I looked at my serial number, I'm like, this makes perfect sense because this ball really is better than any other purple hammer I've ever seen. And also, of course, right there on the bottom, I kind of put it right there because I didn't really know where else to put it. Idle. I've had it for a few years. I've had a couple of them, and this one has been sitting in my closet for a while, and I've recently been experimenting with like my fit. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my other video. I actually use the Sarge Easter grip.
Oh.
Where I go conventional ring finger, and when I went back to Sarge Easter, because after COVID, I went to the normal traditional grip. I didn't like it. It just nothing felt really good, and I've struggled for the past couple of years. So I went back to Sarge Easter back in September, October-ish, and haven't looked back. I've been bowling so much better, and the Idol has been one of those like one of the first few balls that I drilled back Sarge Easter because I really liked it before when I was Sarge Easter with it, and it is a 50 by 4 by 30 also, and I kind of keep it at close to box as possible, but I've also am a real big fan of reactor scuff that Storm makes.
Yep.
I think other companies make something like it, but I don't know by the name, but it gives it that shiny, tacky feel.
Yeah, it's like the factory compound.
Yeah. Because honestly, with like the real strong, get sanded balls, if you use like the reactor scuff, it just rolls so good. And the Idol is one of those balls that like I typically don't throw a whole lot, but right now it's kind of taking the spot as like my big, really traction ball. Even though I could sand a 3D back, but I think with the 5-inch pin, it makes it a little too over under for that spot. But the 3D kind of fits as a benchmark, and then the Idol is kind of like my out the gate, like if I want to try to play right with a really strong, really slow ball, the Idol is about as close as I got right now until I get something like a Archetype or MV Tour or Gem or whatever else is going to be coming out soon. Maybe that DNA from Storm. I don't know. Just depends on how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really awesome bowling balls out there, and it's like every couple months, it's like, oh, I'm coming out with this, and it's like, darn, you get one ball in your bag, you're like, dang, another shiny toy, got to get my hands on it, right? So it's definitely a grind out there, keeping up with all the different equipment. But like you mentioned, right? So like the Idol, that lower RG, right? That bigger core, right? Like for instance, Game Breaker, it's got, that like 247 or whatever, 248 RG, whatever. It helps a lot. And it just gets the ball to kind of just be really slow, really smooth, and keep your angles in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned also, shine, right? I've noticed that too, and I'm on the longer stuff. Like I bowl in that 44-foot pattern. The Game Breaker 2 looked really good at 500 for like the first game and a half, but then I had to go to my Paragon. I didn't hit it with anything, and it actually helped just a little bit, on the pattern, but time and place for everything, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like, in most tournaments that you bowl in, they let you, service your ball all the way through practice until, it actually starts. And that's why you kind of need to learn too, like service is great on harder patterns, but don't go overboard. And especially on everything you've got. There's so many people that I know that will hit like whatever their weakest ball is with like 500 grit because it looks really good on the fresh. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But when you get to that point when you need that ball and you need something with a higher surface and to actually get down the lane, you're screwed.
Literally.
And honestly, like I said, you just got to learn from your mistakes. But I'm trying to tell people that, like, I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just have the nut with the purple hammy or, a urethane, which I've seen it out here in Michigan all the time, and it's more power to, I mean, hey, if you can do it, Heck yeah. I mean, because it's your game, you know. It's you against the lanes, right? So
Sure.
you gotta be able to do well. And like I've seen guys around here do really well with the urethane bowling balls. One of them I really like. Great guy, Justin Knowles, very successful. He was just almost made that finals, the TV finals, the last match, you know, for the U.S. Open. He is phenomenal bowler. I've seen him throw everything, but he really does really well with the purple hammer. And a bunch of other urethanes, and you know, any lefty in general, or just even anybody with high revs. Why? Because the ball's not going to go and it's not going to be angular, you know, so that the urethanes created that area for us to just be able to kind of, you know, and I've seen guys shape it too. I mean, geez, you know, my ball speed's around 17.5, but you know, I've also seen guys like literally just loop a urethane and I'm like, holy Toledo, like that's incredible. Right? But I'm not saying like, hey, the end all solution, right, is urethane, because
No,
I've
it's
seen guys
not.
bring it out and be like, crap, I can't use this because where the oil is and how it's set, it's just not working, right? So it's like having options, surface options, bowling ball types, characteristics, and all sorts of stuff is going to be super important to be successful.
It definitely is. And like the urethane game is something you kind of have to learn how to do. You don't really just go out there with a urethane ball and destroy it. You have to learn where to play with it and service and everything. Like you said, there's a lot of things that go into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple buddies that I talk to all the time. You know, and they're righties like me, two-handers, and they throw purple hammers all the time and they bowl tournaments. It's like he goes in, 6 balls, all urethane. He makes them work. I'm like, dang, like I want to learn how to do that. But I mean, he had a pitch black. He had 3 pitch blacks and he had 2 purple hammers, and then he had like a blue hammer, like an old one, you know. So I was like, holy crap. And then but his pitch blacks, he actually had one which was kind of like at like 3 or 4,000, and he had one at 1,000, and then he had another one that was a different surface. And each urethane had different surface, different layouts. So you can do a lot with bowling balls these days. But yeah, I mean, that's, you know, what we got today. You know, just talking about bowling balls and sport patterns and layouts and fun. And you know, yeah, again, guys, you know, if you have a chance, you know, go follow House Hack Bowling. We got a lot of great content, you know, coming out soon for the Rex channel. Introduction of Team Rex, which mostly will be on my Instagram. I'll go over that, but you know, on my next bowling ball review or my next video, I'm going to say who's on Team Rex right now, what they're going to be throwing, what's going on. You know, and again, you know, Austin, thank you so much for showing up today, talking about bowling balls, talking about bowling. It's always fun.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Until next time, guys. Thanks.
Sailor.